Hello, hello. How are we all? This is
do a
a
little story,
day of, well, just for a moment, just for a moment, just a day of very, very sad news. Obviously, a lot of people will have just heard last in the night that the actor Chadwick Boseman has tragically passed away.
But we're just going to wait for everybody to join us, and then we'll talk a bit more about that. But we're definitely going to be talking about that because he's an incredibly special guy.
Oh, incredibly special. And it's, just quite shocking.
It was really shocking. You came down ashen.
I was ashen. I thought, I don't know why, because so many of the actors in Marvel and that sort of around the fringes of Saturday Night Live, I thought it was a prank. I thought, this isn't right. And then I saw online that Variety. No, I know, but I didn't know whether, it was some kind of
that he was in on
counterintuitive thing that he was involved with about Black Panther 2 or something like that, because of course they've scheduled Black Panther 2 and it raises so many questions.
But let's wait till we've got more people here, because I think lots of people want to talk about and listen about him today. So first of all, how are you all? And we will
Nanny
chat
Di's
about
in the room.
Chadwick.
Hello.
What? Hey, it is sad news. It really is.
He played, of course. Well, we'll talk about it. You want to talk in a minute? We'll wait. We'll get a few more people in.
Yeah.
So good morning, everyone.
There's
Hi,
a
Nanny
newbie.
Di.
Hi, MT. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, MT and newbie to us. I'm just going to put a little story up on Instagram actually to tell people to swipe.
So some of the things we're going to be chatting about today: obviously Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, Wakanda forever. Yeah. The winter virus, fears and worries. Sage, Matt Hancock are all in the press talking about how the winter virus could manifest itself. They could be introduced to school rotas for secondary schools. That's tied into the winter virus. And NADIA has some news about, I think, Little Mix singer, is it?
Yeah.
Jesy Nelson. So I think Nanny Di's in the room. Now, some of you eagle-eyed observers might have noticed that I didn't think we were going to be doing such an early coffee moaning, and I forgot that Green Fingered Hell went up at 9 a.m. this morning. So straight after this, you'll be able to see Nadia getting incandescent and frustrated with me in the garden. So it's quite a fun one. Short, but fun. How are we all? How are we all this morning? Nadia was, April Hill, very sad news. Hi, Nanny Di. How are you, Nanny Di?
Nanny Di is in the house.
She's had a really bad night's sleep, bless her. I don't know when you have a good night's sleep, but there we go.
Well, I could say exactly the same as
you.
No,
I know.
You never, ever have a good night's sleep. How's everybody else's sleep going?
Yeah, how was everyone's sleep going?
Mark had a double espresso at 4:45 yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, but I didn't do it. I don't know. We were just kind of
Mark.
What?
It was fake.
Coffee shops are open till 7. So many people will be.
But if you have a coffee, how many espressos did you have yesterday? Come on. Guess.
And one other one.
Guess how many coffees Mark had yesterday. Do you think he's telling the truth when he says he had 2 espressos yesterday? Say yes or no. You're lying.
Okay, well, we're quite early for a Saturday morning, so I think we've probably got a fair few people in here. So Chadwick Boseman. Now, the tragedy, there's some details about the Chadwick Boseman story that really sort of warm your heart and break your heart at the same time. Of course, he's had major parts. He played Jackie Robinson, who was the first African-American baseball player, played for the Dodgers. He played James Brown in Get On Up, and Thurgood Marshall, who was a Supreme Justice, I think. But of course, he's most famous. He was recently into Five Bloods, Spike Lee's recent Vietnam War movie, and he was in a Netflix sort of thriller, 21 Bridges. But of course, his most important sort of role was Black Panther, which of course didn't just see him in Black Panther, but he was also in Captain America Civil War, the Avengers films. He was one of the key Avengers personnel. And that film was a massive, seismic, enormous sort of clarion call and moment for African Americans specifically, but also, black people around the globe, people of color around the globe. It gave youngsters the belief, with the entire cast, to be fair, the belief that they too could be represented in this way. The fact that Stan Lee even created a superhero like that, and the fact that Marvel went for it, it was probably one of the most important mainstream acknowledgements and moves and recognitions of diversity, kind of almost before the recent sort of snowballing of the need for
Absolutely. Just read that. Me too.
So Me Too.
I love your messages.
Yeah,
Me Too.
I was just watching a video of Chadwick talking about kids with cancer who were holding on for the movie to come out, and he was terminally ill himself. Incredible. I mean, it is incredible.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just...
And it's transpiring that he will have known of his diagnosis as he went into production on Black Panther itself, I think. I think it would have been around that time when they started shooting it. And here's an added detail that he, in a quiet ceremony, married his wife just shortly before he died. I know, it's tragically sad. I mean, I'm almost worried about how Maddie will respond to it because she feels these things so keenly.
Upset.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to be so upset. Do you remember when Tentacion died?
Oh, God, yeah.
She was in bits for weeks, literally weeks, wasn't she? And actually has such incredible loyalty to actors. Well, to many people she follows, isn't she? She's very absorbed in the Black Lives Matter movement and everything. And she just feels things so deeply, doesn't
and she's
she?
very, very, very plugged into the Black Lives Matter and the civil rights movement. I mean, she studied it in her studies and went into it in great detail. She's passionate about it musically and culturally and the way it sort of creeps through culturally. I think also the fact that, he's died around the time, almost identical to the time where they recreated Martin Luther King's March.
Which I watched yesterday. It was
it's a sort of, it's a moment. It's a moment. And it's...
So had he been... So what else do we know? Had he been in hospital for a while or was he...
No, he just privately was dealing with it. And I think he, to the extent that he kept it away from friends, in fact, obviously he didn't keep it away from those nearest and dearest to him. But I mean, a number of people in the media, I just dismissed this stuff. I'd been commenting on the fact that he looked incredibly much thinner in many parts.
Well, they probably knew within the media. They probably...
Possibly.
I'm always quite surprised when I speak to journalist friends of mine and they will know stuff, like incredible stuff about people. And I can think of one particular celebrity that I was just so shocked to know that he has been battling with cancer for years. And they all know that. The newspapers know that.
But they were respectful.
And they're respectful and they don't print it. This is somebody that's still working and stuff. And I was really surprised by that because we do tend to think the media will tear everything apart. And so it may well be that they did know. And
Mark Ruffalo, who played the Hulk, said, in a year...
love Mark Ruffalo.
We love him. Who said, in a year which has taken so much from so many to have yet another idol taken away from us. It's been really, really keenly. Marvel have come out devastated. Kamala Harris has she was friends with him. She's given a statement. I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's so sad.
Wonder if his cast members knew anything.
That's what I was wondering. Especially, well, the other that I don't know if you remember when we went to that live showing of God, what was the name of the show? The rapper did that performance at the Trafalgar Studios that I took Maddie to see, and Daniel Kaluuya and half the cast of Black Panther were there.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if Chadwick Boseman was in the building because if he'd made himself known, he would have been absolutely swamped. He might have been there, but the rest of the cast were there. And I wonder whether Daniel Kaluuya and all of his closest
probably did.
Cast members, Michael B. Jordan, whether they all know.
That's so sad.
So sad, really sad. So spare a thought today for him. Spare a thought for
his wife.
And that creation of a fictional but real land.
And like you say, all the fans that watched him, that this meant so much to him being, that movie and that. Yeah.
It was a pivotal moment in the Black Lives Matter movement in Hollywood.
Exactly, Rachel. The fact that he managed to do so much whilst going through all of that, incredibly brave.
Yeah. First ever superhero film to be nominated for Best Picture.
I know. It's just absolutely heartbreaking.
So unbelievably, Jodie says that the media has a conscience.
They do. They do. Yeah, they did keep it quiet about Gloria Hunniford's daughter. They did, and many other people as well.
I mean, I think the press can be scurrilous and horrible and all that kind of stuff.
Me too. He wasn't playing a hero; he was one.
Oh, don't me too. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So there you go. So I mean,
Missy Hawkins says his life mattered and his legacy will live on.
It really will.
Paul Wilson, cancer is a
horrible
horrible
Maddie's
disease.
just texted.
Oh yeah.
She just come through. Oh, she's shocked. Yeah. Oh, bless her.
I'll just tell her we're on here.
Yeah. And it's that weird thing that because the character he played was such a sort of pin-up, already a mythical pin-up, imagine that. He was a mythical pin-up as Black Panther. I think this will kind of secure that and make that concrete for so many. The image, poster image of him doing the Wakanda Forever salute, if you like,
What do you think will happen over the coming days? I mean, there's going to be. I mean, how do you think that the community will sort of honour it?
I personally think we could see incredibly moving gatherings, marches, combined with the Wisconsin situation, the Martin Luther King situation, where we will hear Wakanda Forever being... Because I don't know, when Daniel Kaluuya was at the screening of this performance that I'm talking about, that we took Maddie and Kiki to, they couldn't believe it. Daniel Kaluuya was next to them, and they were like
they're obsessed with him.
Right at the end of it, he gave a brief speech before it, and he did the Wakanda Forever salute, and the entire place just erupted.
Yeah.
And I think it's an incredibly evocative and emotive salute, if you like.
Missy Hawkins, my 11-year-old, shocked and devastated. Wakanda Forever, Emmanuel, Fadi.
Maddie, I know. I've got goosebumps because I know for a fact Maddie's going to feel that. She's such a Marvel fan. She's so plugged into Black Lives Matter. It's Wakanda Forever, Emmanuel Fadi. A real shock.
Chadwick's interview of him talking about working out and gaining weight for the role how tough it was. And I'm saying that one day he'll live to tell the story. Heartbreaking.
Don't. I mean, what that role will have taken out of him. You watch that film, it's such a physical...
So I wonder if he was actually going through chemotherapy.
He was diagnosed with stage 3 in 2016. And the film came out in 2018, didn't it? 2017. Oh, so he would have just literally gone into production at the point that he was cast.
Stage 3.
Mm-hmm. Look, Missy Hawkins, my 11-year-old, is shocked and devastated. This is it. You see, I think a lot of grown-ups will be thinking, well, okay, he's a major symbolic figure, and the character that he played for an entire generation.
I'm just thinking about, I think a lot of people don't realise actually what it takes to be in a movie. You know, these movie stars, the reason they get paid so much is that they're athletes. They have to be at athlete level, even if you're not doing the sort of thing that is, just because you have to look top form.
Oh, Maddie's just commented on here. I'm so shocked.
Maddie, we were so upset just thinking about how upset you... Maddie's not wishes at her friends. We've been so upset thinking about how upset you're going to be. This is our daughter, for anybody that's that doesn't know. It's our daughter Maddie, who's just texted.
Rachel Kelleher says, I hope they leave Black Panther as it was. He was the character entirely. I mean, he was. It's going to be a very curious moment, really. My favourite Marvel film forever.
He was doing chemo whilst filming Infinity, says Melanie Williams.
God.
Yeah, so the fact that so you have to be an athlete, even if you're not doing incredibly physically demanding stuff, just because you have to be in peak condition to be a movie star. Also, mentally, so spot on. Because, I mean, you know, a movie is never shot in order.
No.
So everything is, you could be filming the end of the movie, right at the beginning, multiple characters, multiple relationships. Now, I have friends that have had breast cancer and had chemo, and the brain fog that comes in with the chemo. Once you've had your chemo, that's not the end. Then all the other drugs, the effect that it has on your fitness levels, the tiredness. I mean, it will have been monumental what he's done.
And if I'm honest, in some of the kind of press junket interviews and the premieres and that, he looked like a man under some duress. There was something, a shadow at the back of his eyes. I remember commenting on it once to Maddie, saying he seems quite sort of reserved and restrained in interview. You know, when they did the group interviews or the press junkets for... and Maddie, I don't know if you're still watching...
He would have been being sick.
Yeah,
probably.
Absolutely.
Well, no, not everyone's sick with chemo.
But Maddie, if you're still watching, Maddie, I mean, the other detail which we just shared at the beginning of this was that he got married in a private ceremony. He had it for 4 years, Maddie. She's just asking. 4 years. So just as they went into production, I think, on Black Panther, diagnosed with stage 3, keeping it private.
When did he marry his wife?
Well, I think in October last year. I think it was very, very recently, as he started to take an absolute downward turn. I think we need to see murals. I think he needs to be immortalised even more than he has been. And I think it's an interesting point. I think Marvel would do well to possibly continue the world of Wakanda via other characters, but to keep maybe the memory of Black Panther his own.
Oh, I just thinking of his wife.
Oh, don't. So yeah. So yes, sad news. Jesy Nelson. What's going on with Jesy Nelson? Do you want to share with us about Jesy?
Well, should we do winter virus?
I just wondered
stuff
whether
next?
winter virus is such a... Well, the winter virus, there's a lot of stuff in the news today about projections for what could happen in the winter.
So we thought we'd discuss it today
Yeah.
because we know that a lot of you now come to us for the news because you don't like the sensationalism and the scaremongering that's going on in some quarters.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of talk about Rotas. There's lots of pictures of Matt Hancock on sort of sitting nonchalantly.
Why is he sitting on a
nonchalantly
fence?
on fence. Well, sitting on a fence, that's symbolic in many regards, isn't it?
literally, there's photos of him everywhere sat on a fence.
But it's talking about what preparations and possibilities are for winter. Now, as I understand it, SAGE have given a worst case prediction. Worst case.
So don't forget what that line that they do keep saying, we have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So they won't reiterate that over and over again in the news. It will keep coming at you as this is what's going to happen. You will, by the end of the today, you will feel this is definitely what's going to happen in the winter. And it's worst case scenario because don't forget, it's a novel virus. They don't really know what's going to happen. So just to allay fears.
Yeah. So the worst case scenario they're saying is that obviously the biggest problem with this virus is that as soon as people, because of the cold weather, turn indoors, the viral load between people increases. I think we can start to assume that the reason Italy got hit hardest first was again because of the close proximity and the way in which
The way they live.
and the way they live intergenerationally and what have you.
And a lot of even the bars and the cafes. And,
very
I mean, Brits tend to want to sit as far away as they can from people.
Antisocial.
But yeah,
it was
that's
sort of
why
socially antisocial, aren't we? So the worst case scenario is that 85,000 people could die in the winter virus. Now, putting that in perspective before we all sort of run for the hills going mad, that's twice the amount that's officially died. That's now 41,000, isn't it? And that's been corrected down. And that is going to be a very tricky figure to calculate when you imagine that the flu season is going to be in there too. And I think historically flu accounts for around 50,000 deaths a year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or it can do.
Well, I think that's at its very worst.
At its very worst,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that, of course, the disease could lose its kind of intensity, flicker away, and not be able to be, there needs to be a sort of strong, prevalent disease to be able to be incubated in houses, if you know what I mean. So you're of the opinion, I don't know how I feel about this. What do other people think? You're of the opinion that if we're all using masks and if we're all socially distancing and even if we're all indoors and all that kind of stuff and we've got bubbles and all that malarkey, presumably even the spread of flu will go down this year.
Well, that's what they're saying, isn't it? I just want to answer to MeTube, who says, I wouldn't say it's scaremongering, it's preparing for the worst case rather than being caught out. Exactly.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
I think too often in the news, they don't say preparing for the worst in case.
Yeah.
It's very much sold to people as
85,000 will
But
die.
we know how it works. We know how it works. We know how producers work. We know they'll say, put that line up so people go to click to listen. So, I think it's really important that we know what the worst case scenario could be. But we just got a bit of balance about it. Like Mark says, we don't know. It could go the other way.
Felicity Cook, it's winter in Australia and our flu is 300% down from last year. Now, there is a compelling argument that coronavirus has been, in many regards, this is a horrendous way to view it, but could have been the grim reaper that has taken a lot of people's lives that might have died due to the flu.
Yeah, because of lots of underlying health conditions or very old. The thing is, are they saying? I think the worry will be, won't it? Like you say, this idea that we could see cases in the winter that are being put to COVID and actually they're flu. So we've got to be mindful of that as well with those. We've said it before on here. I just think the death rates should be only put on the government website in case, for anyone who wants to know. And I think you're right, Ofcom should get involved and actually decide whether that is actually bad for people's mental health, the constant death count every 5-10 times a day on the news.
Thank you,
I wouldn't want that again. I think we can't go through that again like we did in lockdown.
No, absolutely. Epsington, sadly, no conclusive evidence yet that the virus is weakening. Now, well, there is and there isn't, insofar as you can't ignore the fact that the number of people dying of it is dramatically reducing.
Yeah.
You can't ignore the fact that the number of people in ICU is dramatically decreasing. We have to be a little bit sophisticated in knowing that the reason cases are going up is because we are testing more. It's a simple arithmetic. If you test more people, you'll get more cases.
Because most of those people, well, a large majority of those people that are being tested are asymptomatic. So
it doesn't necessarily follow.
known.
And I do get really frustrated with the news flow that if the numbers of deaths and ICUs aren't dramatic enough, they'll turn to the numbers of new cases to give you a number that's slightly sort of sensationalist. And I do think that's kicking in a hell of a lot. None of this suggests that one loosens up or lessens or doesn't stay alert and doesn't observe masks. Sadiq Khan was brilliant on the radio yesterday saying it's the least selfish thing you can do to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Even if it's not for you, it's for other people.
I wouldn't
it gives other people
dream
peace
of
of
not
mind.
wearing a mask.
I mean, boldly stepping out going, I'm not going to. It's just like it's a minimal compromise or sacrifice. If for the sake of, imagine, my mum or Pat or someone who's worried or concerned about potentially getting it, having to go to the shop, and you've just been in there just going, yeah, well, whatever. It's just a simple.
You've got to imagine the people
duty.
with the underlying health conditions. You've got to imagine the people that are still very scared.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm scared sometimes. Not all the time. Not like I was, like I was all through lockdown.
Yeah.
I haven't got that level of fear.
And we've talked about that a little bit this week on Coffee Moaning about the need to be able to be flexible in our approaches. We're not fixed human beings going through this experience in one direction. We were petrified. We've had varying thoughts and feelings about government reactions. We've actually felt, and I've always said that the lockdown should have happened sooner and harder because potentially it could have lasted for a shorter amount of time. I felt there were great moments of hesitation in the government's approach. But also, you can shift your approach on it. For example, wanting to get out, recognising the mental health of your family and those closest to you. I mean, Barney, thank you for commenting on the Nanny Die post. It's impacted on us all generationally in very different ways. 70-year-old elderly people forgetting the medical threat to people over 60 or over 70 or whatever. It's also the philosophical and emotional and psychological effect is massive. I think there's an assumption that mental health only affects sometimes young people or younger people, and we do talk about it a lot because we're parents, but actually it's a massive problem for people like Nanny Di.
Somebody just said there, sorry I didn't catch your name, can you find it quite a good in Scotland, Janie Donnelly. I haven't got my glasses, can you read it more?
Yeah. In Scotland, kids in school, if they develop a cough, they can't attend for 2 weeks and must get tested or not allowed back. Kids are going to get coughs and colds. Bloody hell. That's a bit like drying yourself in the shower, isn't it? A running shower.
I mean, honestly, when our kids used to go to school, I think they had a cough the entire time, don't you?
Yeah,
they were just constantly coughing.
But are you hyper alert? I mean, I am. Last night, I thought I could feel that that you get that distant sort of sense of a cough or a tickle. I feel so hypersensitive.
Anything we get now, we are going to think it's COVID. I was doing a show the other day. I can't say what the show was, and show I hadn't done before. And we all had to have COVID tests before we did it and everything. And then there was loads of us, but everyone had had a COVID test.
Is it the show you talked about in the vlog last night that went out?
Oh, no, it's another show.
Oh.
Every time you went like this, if anyone went like that, there was a person waiting.
Oh my God.
With a tray of hand sanitizers.
Oh my God.
With everybody's name on.
Oh my God.
And they go round to everyone, and everyone would have to sanitize.
Wow.
Literally this.
I mean,
stop
doing that? It's really
they're being so careful though in telly, because if anyone they have to shut down shows, and it just This is where we're at. This is where we're at. We just have to do whatever we have to do, don't we?
Yeah.
Because I will just do whatever I'm asked to do. Even if some of it feels bizarre, I'm just going to do it because that's what we need to do to make people feel safe. And like you say, it's the least selfish thing you can do, isn't it?
Faith Goodman, open windows every day, even in winter, to get fresh air in your houses if you have visitors outside your direct family. Dr. John Campbell says one of the problems now is houses do not have fresh air. Good point. Open the windows now. Carly, so many people have become complacent. I recently started with cold flu symptoms, so I decided to self-isolate. But my family were not supportive and thought I was being too overcautious.
Yeah, that's hard, isn't it? Because we have got a lot of people now that just think it's all a load of nonsense. Just on the opening windows and doors, my parents haven't been here once, have they? Since it's all happened without all those doors and windows open. And I do think that if my mum sits there in lots of blankets and woolly socks. And I do think that that's really good advice, actually. We must remember to do that. And you know what else? If you've got a garden, I said to Mark, we all need to buy our outdoor heaters soon, because I bet you anything they're going to double the price of them come September, October. So if you haven't got one, you want one, get one soon.
Jane Dolby, I'm watching live stream from anti-COVID lockdown, Berlin protest, no one is wearing a mask. There you go. Lucy Rose, that's like our nursery. If they have a cough or high temperature, they can't come in for 2 weeks and have to have it. We have so many children off. I mean, if that's going to be
that's not going to work.
If that's going to be the thing that dictates whether kids go to school, no one's going to be at school.
No one's going to... Oh, my God, though. Can you imagine if you were a Skyver from school, everyone's going to be... I would have been constantly going, Mum. Yeah. I once put a can of minestrone soup down the toilet and then all around the edge and then flushed it so I could say to Mum that I've been sick.
I used to pretend I had asthma, loads, even when I was in goal and I hadn't run around. I had an asthma attack in goal.
I bet you used to well
No, I remember having an asthma attack in goal. God, I remember his name. Mr. Abbott, my sports teacher at primary school, said, how can you have asthma? You haven't run anywhere, you just stood in the goal.
I want to talk about Jesy Nelson now.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, and by the way, the school Rotas idea, just because it's an adjunct to that, is about how they manage this potential winter surge. Is that the next stage is going to be rotas for each years of school. So it looks like homeschooling in some capacity is going to be there for the vast majority of families. If with a cough you don't go to school, and if most kids are on a rota system where 1 week they're on, 1 week they're off.
Well, our book is out next week. I think you can pre-order it now.
Yeah.
Honey, I Homeschooled the Kids.
We're going to be doing a homeschooling Q&A on here. Yeah.
On Thursday evening, because Thursday is the launch day of our book. So we're going to be on Loose Women that day. We're going to be on quite a few radio stations. Actually, we've got a full day. But for you guys, especially, separate from all that PR, just for you guys, we're going to be doing a live Q&A on Thursday.
We'll trail it.
So do think about joining us for that. I would say 8 o'clock is going to be a good time. It's 8 o'clock a good time, I think.
And we've got a Members Live coming today at some point. We are going to post
the Members Live will be happening today. If you're new here, when we say members, we have a members area. It's £1.99 and you get extra content. Oh yeah, per month. You get extra content there, and everybody that is a member there does love it. Yeah. We don't really have anybody leave us that joins us. So if you fancy looking into it, you can click the join button there and have a look round. So Jesy Nelson.
Yeah, who is Jesy Nelson?
Jesy Nelson is from Little Mix, who are a massive band.
Was she at Millie Bobby Brown's party?
Yes.
Ah, you were dancing with her. You knocked into her by accident.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that. Yeah. And she's lovely, actually, and she did a very, very powerful documentary, I think for BBC Three, on bullying and trolling. Her life was made an absolute misery. Right. I mean, it was shocking. It was disgusting. This poor girl was treated so badly. I mean, my God, these social media platforms need to do something about that, honestly. Surely there can be an algorithm that can pick up repetitive, horrible things that are being said. Maybe there is, I don't know. But anyway, she really went through it. She got to a very, very low point in her life. She was always gorgeous, always, but she was curvier than most pop stars. So she was absolutely vilified for that. Anyway, so she's posted on her Instagram in the last couple of days the photographs for her. I presume it must be her new single or album or something. She probably should have checked that. But she said, I don't look like this now. These photos were taken quite a while ago. And she's done a swipe through past her photo. And it's her, I mean, she's still, I don't think she's fat in any way, but she says she's put on a stone. Right. And she shows her podgy stomach.
She's quite proud about it.
Well, I don't know if proud's the right word, because we've always got to remember, haven't we, that being overweight is not good for our health. We know that. But she does say, I've been eating whatever the fuck I like, her exact words, and living my best life. Right. So, you know, and I think that's the attitude. I mean, like I've said, I've divorced myself for diet, so I'll never diet again. I would try as best as I can to eat whatever I want and let my own body tell me when I'm full or when I'm not. And sometimes I'm going to overeat and sometimes I'm not. And it seems that she has that kind of attitude, which is definitely the new movement around food. But I don't think she, you know, I mean, I think it's really important always to say that being overweight, being very overweight, is not good for our health. We know that. But you don't want to be a slave to the terrible standards that have been set for a lot of young girls, and like she went through. So I just thought it was really good that she did that, because there can be a lot spoken about body positivity, body confidence, all this stuff, but actually quite often it's just another photo with them looking pretty gorgeous.
Well, Laura Lawler here says, I love Little Mix and Jesy, but it's very upsetting for her to be completely obsessed by putting up photos of her perfect body. She admits she will not show herself naturally. Very worrying.
Well, she has shown a picture of her having put on more weight, and I think that is her trying very hard. You've got no idea, if somebody was in the public eye, to be trolled like that, what that would mean. So maybe out of the public eye, that's not a big thing what she's done, but for her it is, because she could get that, she could trigger people to do that thing again. So it might not seem brave, and I get that, but I do think it is, and I think she's trying to help to change the narrative that that the majority of people still have, stinking thinking in their head. So
do check out what Nadia gets up to on her Instagram. I mean, as a bloke who has no sort of, well, no, I do. I mean, I understand body image. I have my own body image crises all the time, but I'm not a woman, and I don't necessarily get the nuanced details of it. I'm not necessarily a Kim Kardashian fan either, but I have to say, Nadia is cutting a swathe through Instagram Reels with her send-ups and pastiches of Kim Kardashian, but also a lot of her posts, your posts. I hate using the word brave and inspirational, that bollocks, and I don't want to get all gloopy and Oprah, but I think the way you go about it is particularly intelligently funny and slapstick with a really underlying kind of point, because I think sometimes you can see stuff that talks about this and it's just like, okay, yeah, all right, got it. But you've got comedy, you do it humorously, you do it comedically, and I think I can see and I hear and I read what an impact you're having for people. I think I'm really proud of what you're doing.
Okay.
No, I don't often say it. I just think, it's really good. So guys, go to her Instagram account, Nadia Sawalha. She's some bird off the telly, and it's really good. It's really entertaining and meaningful. So there you go, guys. Well, look, hit the thumbs up. If nothing else, to say Wakanda forever. All of our thoughts and all of our feelings are going to Chadwick Boseman's family, fans, friends, all of ourselves, really. He's going to be eternally immortalised as a true superhero. Yeah. Tragically sad, and I'm still actually in shock. It's terrible. Yeah, and like you say, just thinking of his family and friends and colleagues now, what a blow. Can you imagine? They will be absolutely reeling. Thank you so much as ever for all your comments and seeing so many. I wish we had a chance to read them all. Yeah. Louise Jones, no, I don't think it's ever too late to homeschool your child. Your child is 15 and unhappy, no. Yeah. And maybe you might have missed it, that we're doing a Q&A on homeschooling on Thursday at, we'll let you know the time. And I think our box of books has arrived, so we should go and vlog that. Yeah, I really want to look at it. Anyway, guys, lots of love. As I say, we will be doing a members live today. Nadia posted something on the community page last night to say it is today. What time it is, we'll post all over Instagram and community. Yeah. I'm presuming it'll be early evening, won't it, today at some point? Stuart G just says he thinks we need to pick up potatoes. We bloody do. I need to tip one of the. Maddie's got to do it. I've got to tip one of the sacks out and reuse the sort. Sorry, I've gone into recycling mode. All right, guys. Lots of love. All right, love. Have a good day. Bye. Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever.